So
So
hi
hello guys, we are
everyone.
back
Start,
live.
start, start,
Oh,
start. Start.
okay. Today we have a special guest, Chavel from Australia, and we are doing a small preview of a T20 World Cup that started with a very good match between Sri Lanka and Namibia. We'll discuss about that, and tomorrow is the practice match between India and Australia. We'll talk about that and get some more points about that match and full World Cup. So, Mr. Chavel, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So Charbel, first game of the World Cup, first game, first qualifier. Everyone was expecting Sri Lanka to steamroll Namibia, but in the end, it was the other way around. It was Namibia who steamrolled Sri Lanka completely. So, what do you make of the first game? Did you expected this, or where did Sri Lanka
No,
go wrong according to you?
I don't think anyone could have expected that result. I was thinking Namibia could challenge them at certain stages because I think Namibia are a good team, but Sri Lanka with enough experience and good form in recent months to overcome them. I absolutely loved it to see Namibia do well. It just sends a reminder of how special international cricket can still be when you have these upsets. It's beautiful. Um, I think for Sri Lanka, it all went wrong. I think the last 5 overs of the Namibian innings, they sort of let things slip. They didn't bowl very well. Um, and the Namibian all rounders, they're very, very talented cricketers. That was the key. I think Namibia's all rounders, Smith, Frelink, and David Visa, those three
Yeah.
players were going to be crucial for them. Um, and they delivered, particularly the two left arm bowlers. So great victory. And then Sri Lanka were never in the chase, never in the
Yeah.
chase. Yeah, I could never have expected Namibia to win by over 50 runs. No way.
And the second game turned out to be a complete opposite because their run making seemed very difficult in the first innings. But as per power play, which I was going through, I think Netherlands were very comfortable looking the way they were scoring. So both the games complete different stories.
Yeah, it looks like the Netherlands are on their way. I think they're in seventh over and on 42. So they're a little over six and over as well. So not easy in that game under lights.
So generally in Asian conditions or in the last World Cup we saw win the toss, chase,
Yeah.
game is on your hands. It
Yep.
completely overturned in the first game because batting first is not a bad option here if you can bowl well. So the tosses will not be a key factor I think in this World Cup. What's your take
And
on?
that's a good thing because I sort of tweeted that after the game that one of the aspects of the match that I liked was that Sri Lanka won the toss but lost the game. And in Australia, it's interesting. Many of the main grounds in T20 cricket the last 3 years or so, it's been the team batting first that has won more of the games. So the Gabba, SCG, um, even Adelaide, those grounds, you have the team batting first, winning more often than not. So chasing is not as easy in Australia. So that adds a special dimension to this World Cup. I think it's not just win the toss and the game is yours, as you said. There's a bit of a different element to it, which just increases the excitement levels a little bit more.
So what I was asking was कि here we saw in the first game bowlers were not matlab bowling on Yorkers and but good hard length
Yep.
was the difference maker
Yep.
even in the slog overs because grounds are so big it's just
Yep.
not easy just you can clear it. So
Correct.
teams which do not have say expert death bowlers can learn from it. कि Yorkers may not be the way around here. If you have the Yorkers that's great but if you have other skills, like if you can hit the deck hard, you can still make the life difficult for the
Exactly.
batters.
Because you got a lot of long square boundaries in Australia. So, if you bowl into the wicket and force the batting side to try hit, as square as possible, you're going to limit the boundaries more often than not. So, there's a different element to this World Cup in that regard as well, which is good.
So, Ranjay, what was your take of the first game? How do you think World Cup has given us a great start, isn't it?
Yes, because at one point Namibia was 35 for 3 wickets in that power play, but they steamrolled Sri Lanka. In the chase, there was Sri Lanka was not at point in not at, in the game at any point in the chase. So Namibia outplayed them. Uh,
So I think Ranjit, there were a couple of comments which were coming now. So can we just ask Charbel those questions?
yeah. First question is from Iraj Singh Fan Club. What do you think about Maxwell's form? The hot topic.
Yeah, it's concerning. It was always about Aaron Finch's form in recent months, but it's Glenn Maxwell's form that's also crept up as well. That's a problem. Personally, I'm backing him to come good in the World Cup and produce some good performances. I think he's too good a player, in my opinion, to leave out of the 11. You look at his ceiling, what he can produce, his potential is just too much. So I think for now in the World Cup, you just got to back him and hope that he comes good. I think he's a match winner in all three facets of the game. Um, but it is concerning. He comes into the World Cup with a string of low scores. But the hope is that a World Cup brings the best out of him and the team. So fingers crossed.
Mm. The question is about which stadium is your favorite stadium in Australia?
Australia.
Yeah, yeah. So I've been born and raised in Sydney. So the SCG is a very special ground for me. I love it. But Adelaide Oval is one that a lot of people say is their favourite, and I can see why. That's a beautiful, beautiful ground, Adelaide Oval. Very special. So yeah, I love Sydney because it's very close to me. But Adelaide, if I can go watch a cricket match there, that'd be a lot of fun.
Okay.
Which player, just one more, which player you think can win man of the tournament for Australia if they come good in this World Cup?
It was speaking about Glenn Maxwell, his potential. He can win a man of the tournament. He's that sort of player. But I think David Warner, if Australia win the World Cup, um, I think he'll be the player that wins player of the tournament, similar to last year. I think we need Warner to have a good tournament if we're going to win it. So Warner is my front runner.
Mm, yes, I can be.
And good thing about David Warner is once he is in, he knows which bowlers to target, which areas of the ground
Exactly.
to target. So that
He
is
can
a
score
very
big.
clever thing.
Yep.
He can score big and he runs well between the wickets also. So he's a very, very, either you get him early, otherwise he'll make you pay. So
100%.
England series that just happened against Australia. It was a close series. It just though result says it's 2-0 England, but
Mm,
series was much closer than that because both the games I think Australia lost by 8 runs. So
mm.
not very big defeats in terms of margins. So what do you make of that series? Were Australia chopping and changing, or do you think England brought their A game out? What do you think?
England were good. I thought Sam Curran was really good. But I thought both games Australia were in a good position to chase the targets down the last few overs, and we sort of bottled it. So for me, I look at it. It's good that that happens before a World Cup rather than in the World Cup. Like we can sort that out hopefully in this final warm up, and then the team can discuss it in the meeting rooms and on the training field. Yeah, just a few things to get right, and that includes Maxwell's form. That even includes Matty Wade's finishing at the death. Like we talk about Matty Wade, how good he's been as a finisher, but he was struggling in the last series. So just a couple of things to work out, iron out. I think Mitchell Stark's form as well. We need a bit
Yeah.
more from Stark. Um, but yeah, I think a series like that, I don't think the result of that series is just like, a confidence breaker. It's something you look at and say, where could we have gone better and try get it right for the World Cup. So, um, yeah, a few things to fix up there, but I don't think there's any reason to panic.
Yeah.
But the team has to be focused for that first game.
So are you happy with the way Steve Smith is playing? Because in India, when he came, he was looking sort of out of touch. is he looking better now? Do you think he's the right man at three
It's
still?
tough. It's tough because for me, I'm of the opinion that Smith, as much as I love him and as much as he's a great player,
Yes.
um, I don't think he fits in Australia's best team. I don't know who you leave out. Like people, the thing, this is the argument I was hearing is like either you leave Finch out, but I think it's too late now to change a captain. That's number one. Number two, there were suggestions that we leave Maxwell out, but the difference in potential in T20
Yes.
between Maxwell and Smith is very, very different. So I'm talking about the ceiling, what that player can produce on their best day. I'm taking
Yes.
Maxwell in the T20 in terms of what he can produce on his day.
Absolutely.
He's going to instill more fear in the opposition than Smith does in a T20. It's just fact. So where does he fit? Like Stoinis has been playing well. I've been impressed with him. And then you have Tim David, who's also been playing very well. He's a very, very important finisher for us now. So he just doesn't fit in. You're going to have to leave a potentially very strong player out of the 11 to accommodate Smith. And you don't necessarily know what his role is in the side. You know, he's going to be there as a floater in case we collapse. I don't see that as an Australian way of thinking.
Yes.
Australians have always been aggressive on the front foot. Let's attack and let's not think about failure. As soon as we start thinking, oh, we might collapse, let's have an insurance option, you're setting yourself up to fail, in my opinion, because you've got it in your mind that you could collapse. I think the Australian mindset's always been, let's play from the front and attack and be aggressive. So I think that's the way they should go.
I agree with you. Can't pick a side thinking you would be 20 for 3 and then
No, you
Smith.
can't do that.
You cannot do that.
If you're gonna, if you
Absolutely.
if you think you're going to be 20 for 3, guess what? You probably are going to be 20 for 3.
Absolutely.
And Steve Smith can only do so much. You're probably going to lose the game from there. You know what I mean? So you may as well back your team that you got there, get a good start, and then finish really well with that middle order. That's important.
As as the World Cup will progress, do you think Ashton Agar will get any chance to play? I think he's a very
I
good
think
talent.
it could, yeah. I mean, I think he's been struck down by injury lately, so he didn't get a game in India or at home in these T20s, which has been a shame. I like him as a T20 player. I think it depends on the ground that we play at, and it also depends on if Zampa is unavailable for any reason, then Agar can come in. So yeah, he could get some game time depending on conditions and Zampa's availability there.
So finally, India also picked its squad. Finally, 15-member squad. That I mean. So are you
Mm,
happy with the inclusion of Shami? Personally, I would have taken Mohammad Siraj, but are
mm.
you happy with Mohammad Shami's inclusion? What do you think?
I think Shami is a terrific bowler, and he can be used, I think, in the power play and the middle overs very well. The issue I had is probably his lack of cricket. He's been off with COVID recently, so that's going to be tough. And Siraj did bowl well in the South Africa series recently, so Siraj was coming in with some form. But I like Shami. I think he'll do a job. He's a good bowler.
Absolutely. Ranjay, you want to ask something?
Yes, my question was about what do you think of Nathan Ellis' place in 11?
Yeah.
Because he done well in that India series and then in England versus first match, every bowler was doing 9, 10 economy, but his economy was under 7, I think. So, what do you think about Nathan Ellis?
I remember talking to you guys the last time I was on, and you asked me which bowlers or which players do you want to watch out for, and I did mention Nathan Ellis as an option backup to these first choice seamers. I think it's time now that that we look at Nathan Ellis as one of the main bowlers in our T20 team. He's quality. He's got a lot of tricks, and he's shown already that he's very, very good, and he's capable of cutting it at international level because he's played in games that have been very high scoring, but he's been the bowler that's been the standout. Um, he's not only taking wickets, but he's doing it at a very good economy rate. So uh, for me, when I saw him first time a few years ago, I was very impressed. His ability to nail a Yorker, his back of the hand slower ball, his changes of pace, changes of length. He's difficult to get away. Um, I think maybe now after this World Cup, you're going to look at Nathan Ellis as a regular in the Australia T20 setup. Um, he has to be. He's too good a bowler. I rate him above Kane Richardson. So I think Australia will probably look at Ellis over Richardson in the future. Um, yeah, he's a very good bowler.
My next question was related to I think Josh Butler played at least 14 matches as captain. So, what do you think about Josh Butler, the leader of England, uh, in recent games?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see because he hasn't had, I don't think, the best of time as captain maybe the last couple of years when he's been in the role. It's been a bit, I think sometimes I've felt he's been a little bit overwhelmed on the field in certain cases. I think in the England summer, England struggled a lot. And then that sort of reflected in Butler's form. He wasn't scoring runs. Um, but the fact that England won the Australia series and Butler was in the runs, that is going to be a big confidence boost for him as a leader and as a batsman. So he's world class. But yeah, his leadership is going to be important for England in this tournament because they're a very good chance of winning it.
So I heard your show yesterday. You picked your four semi-finalists as well as two qualifiers each. So England and
Yeah,
Australia, absolutely favorites, no doubt about it. But do you see New Zealand and West Indies can have an upset victory at least, though they may qualify or not is something different. But at least they put up a good show because New Zealand team is also done always done well in ICC tournament. They were the
yeah,
finalists
agree.
last year also.
Yeah, so I said there could be a situation where, say, Australia, England, and New Zealand are separated by net run rate. It could come to that. It
Yeah.
could come to that. They all three teams finish level. That's a possibility because they're all very good teams. The reason why I personally went Australia and England is because I worry about New Zealand playing in Australia. They don't have the best record here. Um, and I want to see how New Zealand play against other sides in Australia. So, if New Zealand knock us over in that first game, then absolutely,
Hmm.
they're the favourites to go through now over Australia, in my
Yeah.
opinion. So it depends how they start, I reckon, the Black Caps, and how they can do in Australia. So that's why I'm leaning towards Australia and England. I think they're the two strongest in that group. And then depending on who else comes in, it could be Namibia comes into that group now after today's result, and then someone from the other group, Group B. You know, if West Indies don't finish top in that group, then you're going to have, you might have Zimbabwe or Ireland or Scotland in that group now. So all of a sudden, you've got games where Australia, England, and New Zealand will be heavy favourites in, and you could have a three-way tie potentially. So how New Zealand play in Australia will be key. That's going to be
Yeah.
very important.
I totally agree with you because in 2015 World Cup, New Zealand had won each and every game, even defeated Australia in the group stage. But come the
Correct.
finals, the moment they traveled to MCG, they just failed in their batting unit. Otherwise, they played.
100%.
I think they played exceptionally well in that World Cup, but they were
Agree.
not meant to be the winners.
And even recently, last month at the ODI series, they played against Australia. Australia didn't play well in that series. We were in trouble in a number of those games, and yet
Yeah,
we still won the series 3-0.
yeah.
So it's like, can New Zealand just overcome that mental barrier and win games here in Australia? And then, yeah, they're a chance of making it, no doubt about it. But that's why I've gone Australia, England for that reason.
Oh, but there's very interesting side to it is where whenever Australia travels to New Zealand, ODI series are always very high scoring and generally
Mm,
targets are chased down also. So that is a very interesting
yeah,
story.
it
Whenever New
is.
Zealand tours to Australia, they completely fail. But whenever Australia goes to New Zealand, matches are so matlab, neck to neck close games.
It is.
So I remember Brendan McCullum when I think one of his best knock games when they were need to chase more than 320 in one of the games, and they did that. So I'm
Yeah.
so now coming back, I think to India just before we wrap it up. India lost their second warm-up game to Western Australia convincingly.
Yeah.
So, do you think? I think in this World Cup we have preferred experience over youth. Like we
Yep.
could have
Mm.
had some players, but we chose not to. We
Yeah.
chose to go with likes of say Shami. Matlab we left out even Bishnoi. I don't know why, but we left out certain players which I think should have been in. Players like
Yep.
Sanju Samson and all.
Agree.
So experience over youth in in a format like T20. Do you think it is a right approach or it is a one-off approach which will we see in this World Cup, and after that it would be completely overhauled. What do you think?
Yeah, it could be that. I think we could see a new approach from India after this tournament, but it depends how they go. Like I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question because I look at India and they bat very deep. It's a powerful lineup, even though you're going with experience. Um, Surya Kumar Yadav, amazing. Um, I'm expecting him to have a big tournament. I think the big question I have is India. They've fallen short the last 10 years in ICC tournaments, multi-team tournaments. Is that going to be a problem this time around again? Can they sort of overcome that, put that behind them, and deal with whatever pressure and expectation is on them? There's always pressure and expectation. How are they going to deal with that? And also how the bowling attack goes without Bumrah. That's going to be a big question as well. The death bowling, it hasn't been great, I'd say, the last couple of months. Cost India in the Asia Cup. And there was some worries in those bilateral series as well. They were conceding a lot of runs at the back end. So that's going to be very important for India. How quickly they can get off to starts as well with a bat in the power play. I'm looking at Rohit and KL Rahul. Can they hit their best form regularly? Because you've got some good middle order players there that you can set a platform for, and they can just go for it. So yeah, I've enjoyed watching India play this year. I think there's been a renewed approach. There's been a little bit more caution to the wind. They've thrown a little bit more caution to the wind, and they've played a much more attacking brand of cricket. So let's see if they can put that into practice in a big tournament like this.
Absolutely, I think biggest challenge for us is our fielding. Frankly speaking, the I saw the
That's true as well. Yeah,
how well the
yeah,
Namibia fielded today. They took all their catches. They had a run out also. They were pushing hard in the field. They
yep,
made Sri Lankan batters' life miserable out there. So that is one
yep.
aspect also I feel in these long rounds, weak throwing hands of Shami, Bhuvneshwar Kumar and others, Chehel. If these three play, we are already are 10 runs behind because the grounds are
Interesting. Yep.
so big, and so this could be one of the big challenges for us in this tournament because fielding in T20 is very important, and you cannot let
100%.
opposition that extra 5-10 runs because it will come back to haunt you in the second half. Because in this World Cup, I don't see this World Cup 200 being scored in every game. I see this World Cup as a 150 to 180 sort of a World Cup, and
Yep.
teams which field well or win those crucial moments will go through. So fielding is my
100%.
biggest concern
Mm,
for India.
mm.
Talent wise, they are even above par from various other teams, but fielding is the area which other teams can really are really miles ahead from us currently.
Very interesting take. I agree with that. Yep. Spot on.
So Ranjay, I think we are so Ranjay, I think is just shall be coming back to us. So World Cup has started. How is the mood in Australia overall? Can you tell us? Are people very excited about this? How is going things going on in Australia currently?
Yeah, it's. I mean, the lead up has been pretty. I find it pretty quiet. For me, I find Test cricket is still the most preferred format in Australia. But once I think the World Cup kicks off this weekend, there'll be a good buzz around it because the Australia New Zealand game is sold out. And I
Okay.
think if Australia start well and play good cricket, I think you're going to see a little bit more attention around it and people start getting into it a little bit more. Just that those lead up T20s were a bit disappointing. That actually for those West Indies games, we had a problem where people in the city didn't even know the game was on. Can you believe it? Like this is a T20 international or Australia playing, People didn't even know it's on. So in this country, Test cricket is still king. I truly believe that. Um, but if Australia start well and they playing good cricket, people are going to hop on board and enjoy it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the start of the Australia campaign. Can't wait.
And we are looking forward also to meet Australia in the finals because I don't want to
I
play
hope so.
another
It'll be
sem.
good.
I don't want.
Sorry, I lost you. I think you're on mute or something. Yeah,
Mm.
can't hear.
Ankit bhaiya, no balls. Mhm.
Just lost this sound.
Ankit, can you speak?
Am I audible now?
Yep.
So
Uh,
what I was mentioning, Australia in the finals. Whenever India has won the tournament, na last, matlab this multi-nation tournament, we have beaten Australia either in the quarter final or semi final to win the trophy. So my feelings is you have to beat Australia in a knockout game if you have to win this World Cup. If you
Yeah.
even remember the last World Cup which England won, they defeated Australia in the semi-finals. So
Yeah.
if you have to win the ICC tournament, you have to beat Australia. Otherwise, you cannot.
Yeah. Fair shout. Yeah. Depending if Australia make it, hopefully.
Hmm, absolutely. Anything else, Ranjay, you want to ask? Because we would
no,
request.
no. No, I think we are here. So, thank you for joining us, Travel, and it
No,
was a
thank you
good
for having
session
me.
for
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Appreciate it.
me. Thank you.
And good luck for the World Cup. We'll be in
Good
touch.
luck, good luck. Same to you. Okay, thank you.
Bye bye.